The Radio Forest Podcast.
Hello.
Hey, Warren, how are you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Congratulations. Million Voices Whisper sounds really good.
Thank you very much.
You've got quite a few guest appearances on this. Derek Trucks, Lucas Nelson, Jamie Johnson. Have you talked to Jamie recently? He got into some trouble.
I have not, and I just heard that just a few minutes ago, but we haven't spoken in a few days.
He's been charged with some sort of drug intent to sell or something like that. What I'm reading into it, it's probably just marijuana.
My guess, too.
Rather than get into the details and the pros and cons or legality, I just wanted to ask you, with your relation to all of these different bands throughout the decades, you probably see a lot of this stuff. How have you avoided getting in trouble, or has it leaked into your personal life or anything like that, I guess is my question.
Just lucky, I guess. I think when Jamie lives in Tennessee, I'm just guessing that it was weed. Weed's still illegal there, which is a shame. I don't know any other details.
But with your involvement with them and then like the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers, have you seen these things kind of go the wrong way for some people? I mean, the Allman Brothers have had some pretty documented drug issues throughout the decades, but I don't know if they've ever coincided with your time during the band.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously witnessed a lot of craziness in my time in the music business. The Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead wrote about all those things, but most of that was a long time ago.
So tell me about getting Jamie and Lucas and Derek on this album. Obviously, you've known all three of those. Did you have songs in mind, or was it kind of more of on the spot, let's get together and see what happens?
Well, with Lucas and Jamie, the three of us worked together on the Last Waltz tour a few years back, where we were the three vocalists singing the songs of the band. And we all love the way our voices blended together with Jamie on the bottom and myself in the middle and Lucas on top. It's just a beautiful harmony blend. And so I wanted to capture that in the studio. And so the three of us were hanging out doing some songwriting a few years ago. And when we finished Day of Reckoning, Lucas worked with me on that. We were all kind of singing it a little bit, and I thought this would be a great song to do that. So I brought those guys in to be part of that, and Lucas played some amazing guitar on that song as well. Derek Trucks and I obviously played together. I've known Derek since he was 11 years old. We played together hundreds and hundreds of times. We haven't collaborated in the studio since the Allman Brothers stopped playing. That all came about from a song, Real, Real Love, that Greg Allman had started writing and never finished, and so I finished it and contacted Derek and said we should record this song, which led to us writing some songs together, which led to him coming in the studio for a few days, and we recorded 3 tracks together. It was a great experience.
I think This Life as We Know It, it has a little bit of a Springsteen vibe, and I've never really heard that from you.
I've never thought of it that way, but I love Springsteen. I've been a fan since Born to Run when I was in high school or junior high school when that album came out. It's definitely got a very uplifting sort of vibe about it, both lyrically and musically. And it's different than anything I've done in the past, but it still kind of sounds like me, but different. I don't know, hard to describe.
No, that's exactly what I was trying to say. That's why I caught a hint of the Springsteen. I'm like, I've never thought of that before with Warren or Gov't Mule, and so you hit it exactly. Also, I think Lies, Lies, Lies is way funkier than anything I've ever heard you do.
Yeah, that definitely has a funk influence. My first hero was James Brown. Before I discovered rock music, I was listening to soul music, and the way I learned to sing was listening to the Four Tops and the Temptations and Wilson Pickett and Otis Redding and Sam and Dave. And a lot of the songs on this record kind of reflect back to that. And Lies, Lies, Lies definitely has a James Brown sort of vibe about it, although it goes into some other explorations in the middle, probably more so than any song I've ever recorded.
You Ain't Above Me. Can you talk about the inspiration for that? Because that's got some vinegar, not just in the title, but it's also like the way you sing it. It feels pointed to me, definitely.
Yeah, that one kind of reminds me of Otis Redding a little bit. It's definitely a pointed song. And that song occurred to me in the middle of the night. I was almost asleep, and I got this idea in my head, and I made myself wake up and sing it into my phone so I wouldn't forget it. The next day when I listened back, I was like, oh, this is cool. I need to finish it. I'm really, really happy with the way it turned out. It's kind of got this, like a soul song, but more edgy, I think.
So sorry to hear about Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead. I know you guys have been close throughout the years.
Yeah, Phil was such a friend and such a mentor, and not to me, but to so many people,
You didn't get on stage with Dead and Company at Sphere Las Vegas. Have you seen any shows there, or do you plan to?
I saw the fourth and final Fish show at the Sphere. I took my son and one of his friends. My wife and I took them because they're both huge Fish fans. It was such a phenomenal experience. The Sphere is fantastic, and the show was great.
What's the difference in an Allman Brothers, a Grateful Dead, or a Dave Matthews crowd? So if I walked you out and didn't tell you which one it was, would you be able to figure it out just by looking in the crowd or from the response?
Yeah, I think I would. I don't know if I can describe it, but I think I would be able to discern the difference between those three crowds. I can tell you the difference in the approach to improvisation, especially between the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers. And this is a poignant statement that Dickie Betts mentioned to me one time. He said the difference between an Allman Brothers jam and a Grateful Dead jam, and he was referring to both with love and respect and reverence. He said the Grateful Dead wait for the magic to happen, and the Allman Brothers are impatient and force it to happen right now. And I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it, and having been on the inside of both of those situations, both approaches are beautiful. With the Dead, sometimes we would just roll along, relaxing, and at some point in the show, it was going to catch fire. With the Allman Brothers, they want to catch fire at the very beginning. And being able to be part of both of those things is what an amazing opportunity and experience. And some of it, going back to your original question, some of it is based on the audience. The Grateful Dead built this audience that takes this journey with them. Wherever they go, the audience goes with them, and it's like a group effort. If the music goes into uncharted territory, even gets like weird on the verge of falling apart, the audience is still part of it, and they're still part of that ride. And one of the things that I loved about playing with Phil Lesh is like those experiences were just as joyous to him as when it was all working perfectly. And I think that speaks volumes about his open-mindedness as a musician. And back to the Dave Matthews, I've been friends with those guys for over 30 years. And the fact that they will improvise and go out on a limb the way we do when we play together in front of a huge audience is so commendable. As an example, when we did Cortez the Killer in front of 100,000 people at Central Park, we didn't rehearse it. We didn't. It was the first take. It was completely improvisational, and I don't know how long it was. Must have been 20 minutes or so. But it just happened magically and beautifully. And the bravery it takes to do that in front of an audience is wonderful. And also, again, to have an audience that's part of that journey with you.
Now, I'd imagine it's kind of difficult, though. Do you think you're still improvising? Because as much improvising as you've done, you've gone the whole circle of everything that you could play. You're playing something you probably have jammed at some point, but maybe you don't know it? Does that make sense? Like maybe you've played every note there is to play, Warren.
Well, yeah, and many times over. But the secret of that is the response between the musicians. When someone plays a phrase and someone else responds to it and someone else responds to that, that always sends you down another road that you weren't prepared to go down. It's completely different than playing by yourself. When you're having a conversation with great musicians, it's like the jazz Miles Davis kind of philosophy of no one knows what they're going to play next until they hear what the person played right before. And that's a beautiful way to approach music. And it's probably the most fulfilling aspect of what I do.
Christmas Jam, any chance that that's coming back next year? I heard for 2025 it's probable.
we were about to make an announcement. We had planned a Christmas jam for this year, and then the hurricane happened, Hurricane Helene, which devastated Asheville. The flood damage is unbelievable. It's going to take them years to rebuild. Asheville is my hometown. It's where all my family, all my old friends still are. They all had to relocate. My mom just got drinking water 2 days ago.
Holy cow.
7 weeks later, they just got water that they could drink. But they're all back in their houses, and they're all safe and sound, which we can't say about everyone. But with that in mind, we knew we couldn't do a Christmas jam in Asheville, so we decided to do this thing called Soulshine MSG, which is a benefit at Madison Square Garden in New York. Dave Matthews Band, the Warren Haynes Band, Goose, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, special guest Trey Anastasio, Derek Trucks, Susan Tedeschi, Robert Randolph, Joe Russo, Mavis Staples, and Trombone Shorty. We're going to raise as much money for the hurricane relief as possible.
Well, it's Mr. Warren Haynes. Million Voices Whisper is out now. He's got 9 dates scheduled so far for the 2025 tour. Warren, it's nice to talk to you today, man. Thank you.
My pleasure. Nice to talk to you.